Okay, and here we go. This is one thing I want to talk about with regard to keeping your clay clean. This is a little piece of scrap clay, and as you can see, it has mystery streaks and little particles of dirt. This piece of clay is for cleaning your hands. After you have washed your hands and you think they are clean, this little piece of clay will prove to you that they are not. If you take it and you roll it between your hands and cover your fingers and your palms and then examine it, you will see that you have picked up lots and lots of dirt. That is because it gets down in the little grooves on your hands and it's very hard to get it off. This also will remove oils that were on your hands and any residue from the soap that you did not get off. And that is how I get my hands clean before I start working, to avoid those little black streaks. I also do this before I start conditioning clay, because there's nothing worse than mystery black streaks in your clay. Okay, so now that that's done, we're going to take a nice clean piece of clay and we're going to condition it and get it ready to use for the fingers. I'm going to try to keep you in frame here. Okay, now what we want to do now is measure how much clay we need for each individual finger. And the reason I do this at this point is so that when I add it to the wire, which we will be, ooh, little random hair, go away. When we add it to the wire, we don't want so much clay that it makes the fingers oversized. So this step helps me to figure out how much clay I need. So there's also, if you're not going to use an armature, this step will allow you to have already pre-cut the amount of clay you need for the actual fingers. And you want to round your tip again for each one. You're going to make one little, oh, that's too thick. Your fingers taper slightly from the hand to the fingertip, but not that much. Okay, you want it to be approximately from here, this point right here, just above where the knuckle is. So you want it to be behind that meat line, which is on the back of the hand. You want it to be about to here on the model hand. Okay, so you're going to cut. You can use a tool. I just happen to use my fingernails because they're here. I might as well use them to my advantage. And then the next finger. Again, this does not have to be perfect, but it is a step that helps me when I do the fingers to get them about the right size. And as I said, with the camera in the way, you can use a tool to get the clay measured out. I'm trying to make sure I'm keeping you in frame. And more or less, that is the clay for those. The thumb is a little different. We'll get to that in a minute. Now back to the wires. We have two sets here, so let me push that set aside. This long one, again, is the middle finger. And the curved one, which we left curved on purpose, is your thumb. Set that aside. The shortest one is the pinky. So we're going to start with the pinky. And you can do this one of two ways. You can flatten out the finger like that. Put the wire in the middle of it. As you can see, not all the way to that, not all the way to the tip, but close. And then wrap it around the wire. Like that. And do a little roll, gentle. Don't squeeze too hard. You don't want to make the wire move inside the clay. You just want to get the clay wrapped around the wire. Okay. And now I'm going to okay. Are we recording again? Yes. All right. Now you can either bend the fingers ahead of time and set your pose, which is perfectly good to do, or you can leave them straight. That's also okay. You want to remember you do not want to push the wire off the screen. You do not want to push the wire around in the middle of this too much. So you're going to take care with how you do this. And this is the pinky. Okay, we're going to roll the center of the finger and flatten it out a little bit. And that creates this plane right here on the finger. And you're going to start down near the nail and roll back towards that. And that creates this plane right here. You're going to come from the top and roll towards that middle knuckle. And you want to keep checking this against your picture and make sure that we're not too big, which we are, which is why you got to stop and look. Remember, as you're doing all this maneuvering, it is elongating the clay. Every time you touch the clay, it's going to get a little bit longer. So you're gonna want to keep your lines a little closer together here. Remember, don't push hard. This is only a thin finger. And you're gonna mark the back with these lines. Am I still on the screen? Nope. You want to mark the back with these lines. Okay. Where they go. And you can go to the other image, which is over here, and look against those lines and see. Pretty far off, aren't I? Okay, so you're gonna correct your line, smooth it out, move this line this way, and as you can see, we have a little more clay than we need. So what we're gonna do is taper this a little smaller, like that. Okay. You're going to taper your tip, put your nail against your thumb, and squeeze with the other finger. Careful not to pull it off the wire. You're going to taper the shape of the end. You see that taper? Your finger is not round, it's not pointy, but it tapers and it rolls up towards the nail, and it tapers at the end. And then the tip is rounded this way. So you want to make sure when you do that taper that what you're displacing this way is not making it wide this way. And then we're going to use my trusty little fingernail tool that I created from a coffee stirrer. As you can see, let's get in the middle here. It's a handy little tool. Okay, what you do with this is you size it up to about where you want your nail to be. That one's too big for a pinky, so we're going to use the other end. And you're going to press it in and press it in. See how it makes that lovely little pinky nail? Okay. Okay, keep that tapered on the end. You can come on the back with the opposite side of the tool and press for the back part of the nail. And I come on the side, and there's that side and that side. See the nail? Let's get you in the middle again. There's the nail. Spin that around. And trying to do this while keeping it under the camera the whole time. It's pretty complicated. Okay. So we're gonna thin that out and try not to twist. Alright, and you can pinch off the extra if you like. So there's pinky, more or less. Now, I do, oops, too much. There we go. Make sure you don't poke the wire through the end of the finger. Now you're going to want to mark on the back. This is a tool called a knit and purl, and it has a beveled little bowl on the end, and I like it because it establishes those little half moon curve marks on the fingers. Boy, this really throws off depth perception. Okay, that are on your knuckles. And it doesn't require a lot of pressure. You don't want to make deep marks because deep marks are fragile marks. And you have one little finger, approximately the right size. You're going to set that one aside, and we're going to go finger by finger. You want to find, you can decide, like I said, if you want one finger bent, you're going to follow the picture and make your bend here, and follow the picture, make your bend there, like that. Okay, so this finger will have a bend like that, pinky straight, and this finger will bend. You could bend the pinky too, or however you want to do it. Okay, this, where are we? This finger. Okay, and you're going to take that next piece of clay, and we're going to do the same thing with these wires, and you're going to flatten it out just a little bit. Okay, peel it up, and if you go from the bottom and roll up, it's going to be easier to seam on the top than on the bottom. Oops, on the top than on the bottom of the curved wire, because you can see it on top easier than on the bottom. Okay, just keep pinching, 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 and then do a little hand polishing. There we go. Seam has now disappeared. I see I have more clay on the tip of the finger than I need, which is fine, because I can pull that off. But adding it is harder. I gotta get rid of that last bit of, there we go. Okay, So we're going to take that little tip off because it's too much clay. Alright, and again, the tip of the finger tapers. Trying not to have the metal pop through, because when the metal pops through, you get a little mark like that. That's where the wire poked up. Okay, so now on a bent finger, you can create that middle knuckle by rolling across it sideways, like this. Yes, I am in. Nope, I'm not in the screen. Now I'm in the screen. Okay. Alright. You're going to come on the back of the finger and you're going to make the first crease on the back of the finger, the second crease on the back of the finger, like that. There's my back of the nail. Okay, see how it's shaping up? Okay. And you want to, if it starts to go a little off as you're going down the line here, you just give it a little squeeze on the sides, get your shape back. Again, just gentle pressure with your finger both warms the clay and smooths it and shapes it. So this finger is a little bigger, so we can go ahead and use our larger tool to create the nail like that. And the straw being curved gives a natural nail bed. Okay, so the side, you're just gonna take and come like that. Am I still on the screen? Nope. Okay, I'm gonna come like that and like that, and there's the fingernail. And you can use this tool to make the little marks on the top of the finger and just kind of a little scratch to indicate that they're there. Pivot it, and again here, here, turn it over, here, here. Like I said, you want these to be shallow. You don't want to make them very deep, because a deep scratch is halfway to a crack. So keep it light. Okay, there we have the first two fingers on our way. Set those aside and onto the next wire. Okay, and the next finger I'm doing is the middle finger. And we're going to go through these steps to try to keep this video short. I'm going to do just one more finger here, and again you want to use the texture on the back of your finger like sandpaper, and you're going to file that finger smooth and get rid of that seam. Okay, you don't want to push too hard because you don't want the wire popping through, and you don't want to misshape the finger too much. So if you support it from underneath and then gently press like that, you get your finger shape going. Okay, again, you want to compare the overall size to the hand we're working with, and as you can see, we're a little big here, so I'm gonna take a little piece of clay off of here just to keep us in the right neighborhood. And this one is actually only that big. There we go. There's that finger. And these little scraps, you don't need to throw them away. You take and you add them to the piece that you clean your hands with. And eventually, when it's super dirty and it's not effective anymore, you take and use it for an accessory or an under armature or something like that. The clay never really goes to waste. Okay, and again, this time I'm going to use my little handy tool, and we are going to flatten out that digit on the top side of the finger, which establishes the first and second knuckle. Then roll back towards. Again, support from underneath helps to keep that wire from poking through. And a little round on both sides, trying to keep us in focus here. Roll up, roll back. Okay, and then from the fingertip, roll back towards that first knuckle. Okay. General shape. And now we're going to rotate and create that little crease on the back of the finger. Alright. And we're going to make the taper. Again, whichever way you do it, you want to flatten out that top line and curve the bottom up towards the nail. The way I do this is I put the fingertip against my finger. Sorry, I'm shaking. And then I press the nail flat from the bottom. Creates that side profile of the nail. Make sure I'm in the screen here. Creates that side profile. And where am I? Over here. And this side, and this side, and finally the top of the nail. And you want to come back and straighten that out just a little bit. Bring that back into the right shape. And we have one more almost finished nail, or finger rather. And again, you're going to make your little lines at the knuckle, each knuckle. They're kind of very hard to do this with the camera between me and the finger, but I am trying. Okay. And alright, that's the next finger. Okay, so I went ahead and sculpted the last finger off camera so I could actually see what I'm doing. It's hard to sculpt underneath of my phone because this thing I'm using as a tripod has only left me about 5 inches of space. Okay, so there is the last finger. We have all the fingers done. Now we're on to the thumb. And we're going to measure the thumb again from the tip to that first knuckle, from the tip to this knuckle here. And we're going to put a little bend at that point and bring it over towards the palm. And then we're going to bend it again to come down the rest. Can you see that shape? Hold on. Okay, that phone call was not well timed. I just noticed this video is getting pretty long, so I'm going to stop there, and the next video will be shortly, and you will have the thumb wire already bent, and we'll go on with the thumb. Okay, until then.